You've said being a man has nothing to do with a beard or hunting or football or any of that stuff, that it comes down to two things.
Yeah,
A spine and a pair of balls.
I did say that, how to be a man.
Tell me about that.
Well, I do think that, and I made that episode before the term performative masculinity kind of hit the scene, that there is a kind of performative machismo to masculinity. And I think that has become kind of a stand-in because masculinity has been dismantled over the last 50 to 70 years. No one really had to talk about how to be a man. It was like patently obvious. But as that started to get challenged and to fall apart, then it became more, there were things that were play acting, that were props or costumes to stand in for the appearance of masculinity. And I do think that ultimately what comes down to being a man is having a spine, which is in the sense of you're willing to stand up. A spine is what enables you to be erect, basically, to stand up from the undifferentiated masses and to say, this is who I am. And this is really hard to do, like extremely hard to do. The studies on conformity are very, very clear about this, whether it's the study with the lab coat where they ask the people to administer the shocks, or the studies with elevators and people are turned different ways. It's actually very difficult for people to even stand against 10 people. That's kind of why that movie 12 Angry Men is perennially so relevant. It's like it was extremely difficult for that one juror to stand against even 11 other people. Most people wouldn't have the ability to do that. And that's because as soon as you stand up, you cast a shadow. As soon as you stand up, no matter who you are, what you believe, there's going to be darkness that gets attracted to it. People are going to attack it. People are going to disagree with it. Some people are even going to want to destroy it. But there's no escape from that. Everything under the sun casts a shadow. So the next part is balls. If you stand up and you cast a shadow and you start to attract that kind of attention and disagreement and pushback, then you have to have the willingness to kind of put your money on the felt, to walk the talk. Otherwise, you're just going to fold back down as soon as you meet with that resistance. And I do think that that's kind of testicular fortitude here. And I think there are ways to do that that don't involve gutting a fish or riding a horse or smoking cigarettes or having 100 women in your sexual history, or driving a Ferrari or having a six-pack. All those things can be wonderful things. I'm not putting any of those things down necessarily. But it doesn't necessarily make a person a man. I think what makes a person a man is to have a spine, to stand up for what you believe, and to have a pair of balls to say, you know what, even though you're pushing back at me, even though you might actually want to destroy me, I'm not going anywhere. This is who I am. And that's extremely difficult to do.
Like, give me an example, right? Give me an example of, is that just a man just saying, hey, like, this is what I believe, maybe these are some principles I have, and I'm just going to stand by these. And I'm not, is that an example of having a spine and some balls? Like, hey, here's some principles I'm going to live by. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. I don't care what anyone thinks. This is who I am. This is how I'm going to live. Is that an example? Or what's an example of that spine and balls?
We saw a number of examples of that during the COVID shutdowns. Think about how difficult it was to be somebody who was opposed to the mass vaccination program. These were people who often were medical doctors or specialists who were expressing reasonable concerns, and they received death threats, they were fired, they were canceled from social media platforms. And I think that was done to send a message to other people so that they don't start questioning the program as well. So I think that's a concrete example of having a spine and a pair of balls. Is how many people do you know said, wait a minute, I'm not so sure about this, and actually resisted the social and personal consequences of that decision? Probably not many.
Guys, we've been so passionate about finding the biggest geniuses, and this is just one of the many episodes. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next one, make sure to subscribe. All right, let's get back to the episode. Let's talk about female disrespect and the boss test. You have a test for whether a woman's behavior toward a man is disrespectful, right? Which is, would you say this to your boss if you wanted to keep your job?
And that's the test that I have suggested to women, because I think that oftentimes women don't even know when they're being disrespectful to men. And I've made some episodes on here are some examples that often fly under the radar that men perceive as disrespectful that women maybe don't. And so that's the test to women. Would you say the same thing in the same way to your boss if you wanted to keep a job? And the pushback I generally receive from that is, Orion, he's not my boss. And you can even see in that response that she doesn't even think of him as a peer. Like it's dripping with contempt and condescension, which is precisely where I'm coming from. It's this attitude that even if the man is not higher than her in that relationship structurally, this is how men perceive respect. And why wouldn't you want to purge the disrespect from your tone or from your language in order to have more satisfying, harmonious relationships? It has nothing to do with who's actually higher than whom. It has to do with the fact that tones and word choices are very, that's really where attitude gets conveyed. And when a woman speaks to a man that she's in a relationship that way, what she's basically communicating is, I don't have any fear. For better or for worse, fear is the basis of respect. It always has been and it always will be. I have no fear because I don't think that you're going to retaliate at all. And I don't feel like you're going to get fed up and leave. And I could probably do better. So this is a woman who is operating from an actual place of privilege and power with respect to that relationship. And this is how she uses it. Imagine being the boss who speaks in that way to your employees. Like, if she doesn't think that the man is the boss, but that she is, well, what kind of a boss is she? Who would want to work for that fucking boss who talks to people that way? You know what I'm saying? So they have to leave aside the literal structure of the relationship and understand that regardless of the direction, it's not a good look. It's not a good look to talk that way to your boss, and it's not a good look to be the boss and talk that way to your employees.
And does that female disrespect actually destroy the woman's own attraction for that man?
It's usually the other way around. So the attraction drops for whatever reason, and then the disrespect starts. And what she might be doing, consciously or not, is transforming that man into a person who would be easier to leave.
And what happens from the man's perspective? Is it just he starts emotionally being disconnected after that, or?
The main problem that men have is they think that women mean what women say. There are gender differences in communication. When men are communicating, the point is the conveyance of information. We understand that communication occurred because you can more or less summarize the gist of what you've just heard back to me, the key points, right? So how does this create problems? A woman might, because she's lost attraction and has begun to disrespect the man, she might say something like, I can't believe I have to remind you, like 3 times I've told you to take out the garbage, and the garbage is still sitting there. And so the guy, being a guy, will listen to that, might feel a little at the tone, but will say, okay, the problem is I didn't take out the garbage. When, trust me, if that woman were a 10 out of 10 attracted to that man, she probably would have said, oh, you were probably too busy to take out that, so I did it myself. Like, it would not even be a problem. Like, no one would even be talking about the garbage if there was a lot of love and attraction in this relationship. But there's not, and so now we're talking about the garbage. But the men think, woman has problem Therefore, if I solve problem, woman will have no problem anymore. And so this creates problems in the relationship, because the man, it doesn't solve the problem. If the guy starts taking out the garbage, the woman will find some other thing that is the issue. And so the man feels increasingly frustrated. He's like, no matter what I do, it's like I pay for everything. I take out the garbage. I do all the housework. It's like, and she's still pissed at me. But that compliance generally does not improve his standing in her mind, unfortunately, or for better or for worse, I should say. Women are not attracted to compliant men. And that's part of the bad boy energy that we were giving out earlier. It's like James Sexton said, the guy who stops at yellow lights is not going to do the thing that you like. Men who are willing to break the rules if necessary, who are able to say no and to weather the consequences, are always going to be perceived as stronger and safer than men who don't. So, again, I keep saying that. For better or for worse, non-compliance tends to be more attractive to women than compliance, which leads to this very strange situation that you might actually get a woman to like you more by giving her less of what she says that she wants, which is really bad news for kind of the nice guy romantics out there who just want to be able to give a woman what she wants. Wouldn't that be nice? Because I sure would like to get what I want, because men communicate more directly with respect to to the information conveyed, right?
Yeah, when a man says something to someone, to another man, they're taking it very, very literally. He's, if you repeat that back to me, I'm like, okay, he got it. Versus with a woman, she may tell you something, but really there's something else going on there, and it's connecting with her emotion. So let's take that same example, right? Let's say she's complaining, take out the trash. You didn't take out the trash. Let's say, right? The man in that situation, well, you're saying maybe, take out the trash yourself. Maybe give her a little pushback, but also too, realize that that's not about the trash. There's something else going on here. Maybe let's work on the attraction. Maybe let's work on the seduction. Maybe let's work on stimulating her emotionally, or these other core things of the relationship. And then if I work on those and we can get back to a good place over here, she won't complain at all.
Yes. A woman who is very attracted to a man does not complain, period. So if a woman is complaining, there's an attraction problem somewhere.
And the attraction isn't just physical, it's the emotional.
Yes, but physical helps as well. Let's not sweep that under the rug because it's somehow superficial or not as noble as the emotional component. So if men use communication as the conveyance of information, of ideas, women tend to use communication as a conveyance of emotion. So this woman was the actual intention in this hypothetical situation is that she was not actually trying to communicate about the garbage. The garbage just happened to be the at-hand vessel, the container for something else. And that something else was, I'm frustrated. And beneath that frustration is probably like, I don't feel appreciated enough. I don't feel heard. And because I don't feel heard, I feel disrespected. That might be what she's trying to say in belittling the man about the garbage. And if the guy responds at the garbage and not at the level of the emotion, then we have ships passing in the night. So what you could do, and this is hard to do. I mean, I'm a therapist, and it's not always easy for me to do. So it's tough for the average guy. But to understand that it's the tone that really is the communication with women, more than the semantic, factual information. And if you're not sure where to go as a guy, a great first move is just like reflection. And it's better to reflect on the tone. You'd be like, oh, you sound frustrated. She's gonna go, I am frustrated. It's like, yeah, I can hear that. Man, that sounds like what's going on inside of you. It's like, I told you 3 times. And you're just like, oh, so you must feel like I don't listen to you right now. Yes, you get it. And so generally what happens is that as you start to decode the emotional communication, people get quieter. Unfortunately, when people don't feel heard, they get louder. And it's not really a volume problem in the vast majority of cases. So that just escalates the situation, but it seems to be human nature to do it. But as you correctly identify the emotional component, then people generally settle down, both men and women. It's a great way to de-escalate a situation.